What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Realtalk. We're coming at you a little early. Henry made me do it.
As usual.
It is all his fault. Don't let him tell you otherwise. This is your host, Kyle Spencer, and
I'm your co-host, Henry Roman.
And he is fired because he tried to quit.
I did a preemptive strike.
Well,
I'm getting on it, y'all.
I'm tired of looking at you.
That's why we don't have video.
That's exactly why we don't have video. I have my face isn't bad, but I have the body for radio.
Well, that's your opinion. Your mom is on the thing, so I'm not going to say too much. Oh man, never mind.
She doesn't want to look at either one.
Yeah, I know. She already knows.
But it's a great Friday, a little warm. I'm a little sunburnt again. You would think I would have learned my lesson, but that is simply not the case.
That's a negative.
Negative ghostwriter. But I was gonna say huge shout out, but I don't even know who to shout out to.
Your mother?
I'd like to do a huge shout out to my mom for
she's
being my mom.
Yeah, I know, right?
Because without her, I wouldn't be here.
She said, "I don't like the radio." Sorry, Mom.
Sorry, Mom.
We so sorry.
She's
gonna be like, the spankings will continue until morale improves.
Morale's gonna get better because Henry quit. But tonight, we are tired. We are tired of all of it. Tired of this. So we're gonna talk about attire tonight, and we have some opinions. Our opinions are skewed, mainly because our minds are skewed.
Yeah,
and there's not a whole lot holding thread holding everything together up there.
Yeah, I know, right?
But we're trying to make it work with what we got. I just wish we had a little bit more.
Oh, jeez.
Where is Becca when you need her?
I know, right? She would definitely amplify the brain power in the room.
Yeah, for sure, like without a doubt. And but one of the concerning topics, and this is actually Henry's idea to talk about this tonight. So if any of y'all want to blame anyone for the conversation, it is Henry's fault. I'll give you his phone number and his address right now. It
911 extension 12.
Let them know that Henry told you to call.
I know, right? Yeah. And they'll be beating me on television saying, "Stop resisting, stop resisting."
And I'll be holding the stick.
Yeah.
But it's a topic that has been controversial for forever. Tattoos, jewelry, piercings, suit, no suit, birthday suit, clothes.
Hopefully not birthday suit.
I
drug out of there.
Maybe one Sunday I'm going to show up to church in a pre-sin Adam costume.
Okay.
And when everybody asks me what am I doing, I'm going to say I'm taking original form.
No, what you say is the one without sin cast the first stone.
Let me draw a line in the sand.
Oh, jeez.
But yeah, and
no wonder you're always in trouble.
I promise that's one Halloween that everybody's gonna stop celebrating Halloween. Hey. All right, so all you pastors out there, if you need an idea for next year's Halloween and how to get your congregants to stop celebrating it, please call me. I have an idea.
And this is also a fast track into prison. just saying.
may want a lawyer on retainer.
Yeah, possibly.
But but it's a real thing. Not the whole birthday suit idea. Please don't do that.
No.
Try it only at home.
Yeah. Preferably with your significant other.
And only your significant other. Your married significant other.
Exactly.
We got a lot of we have to go through down a list of maybe we should have a lawyer on retainer.
I know. Oh, jeez. Goes off the rails real fast, don't it?
Oh, it's already been off the rails. We're just sparking along.
No, right?
And but in churches, I can't tell you how many times there's multiple things that are fought over in a church, and I feel that one of the main ones, and I don't know if it's just, I don't think it's just because I'm on a worship team and have always primarily been since I've been like 16.
Right.
But worship is always a fight within the ranks of the church.
Right.
And even outside the ranks,
like even like song preference and
this you play too many fast songs, you play too many slow songs, you let this person on the worship team, you didn't let this person.
Man, no hymns.
That the person up in the front pew had the tambourine and was jamming along, and she can't keep a beat for nothing, and she threw the drummer off.
I'm telling you,
and that's a real true story.
Yeah, that's real talk.
Because I was the drummer, and I had somebody playing the tambourine that really probably shouldn't have ever touched the tambourine, but she got it. She was feeling it. And
that's when you walk off the stage, you grab the tambourine, you crash it across your knee, and politely go back to the drums.
Don't even say anything.
No,
just and do it all super slow, politely, just as sweet as possible until you break it, and then go back to being as sweet as possible. So when I was in the my initial academy and stuff for law enforcement, they once told me, you be nice until it's time not to be nice, and then after you're done not being nice, you be nice again, because you only are not nice when you have to be not nice. Any other time you go to be back, and I feel like that is
be a topic coming up.
You know what?
It's got to be a topic.
It's a pastor. If there's any pastoral advice that I can give to young pastors and young youth pastors, specifically youth pastors, it's be nice until it's time not to be nice, and then you're nice again.
Yep.
My youth have experienced that. They know I have no problem telling them, okay, I've had enough, and I've handled business when it's time to handle business, and then after business is handled, hey, who wants ice cream?
Yeah. Now go put back on your arm.
Yeah. There's a steak. Go throw that on your eye. You'll be fine. But aside from worship, one of the things that has always been controversial in the church is clothing. And while she came into the church dressed like that, and he came into the church dressed like that, and they look sloppy, and they look like they're better than everybody else, and there's no middle ground, for the most part. Now, I feel that churches have slowly slumped into a middle ground. Not across the board. I feel it's dependent on the diversity of the church. And some people have just got tired of talking until they're blue in the face and have given up on.
Just let it go, yeah.
And just let it go. We have our own opinions,
right?
And we would love to hear yours, because unlike some topics that we have the correct answer, though we may not follow it to the T. Sometimes we're able to say, here's a concrete, like, this is what we should do, because this is biblical across the board. It's very black and white. This is one of those topics where I have my opinions on both sides of the matter. And I personally don't know if there's a super clear cut answer to it. And that's just my personal opinion on it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So where do you stand?
Well, for me, it's like it's more of where everybody is, and I think a lot of it has to do, like we talked about earlier. A lot of it actually has to do with demographics, and it's also geographic, like we talked about, like down south. Most people going to church, and I mean they're dressed to the nines, and it's more of a common thing you see. And so when you go there, even unbelievers, they go there and they kind of dress up. It's just kind of a thing you do. And I've seen it more in this area where we are, Upper Midwest, where it's kind of spotty. It's more based on the demographics of the church. Um, you see some pretty lax, and then you see some that are maybe not dressed to the nines, but everybody's putting on a decent attire. Or what would we culturally think of as decent? So I have my. I mean, is it you're asking me what my thought is, or what the general thought is on that?
I don't know if we really can. I don't really know if we can say with like a um, clear discretion
Mm-hmm.
what the general thought is. Because again, I think even what we consider the general thought is our own personal
That's out of our own bias
on it.
Yeah.
So let me start. I'll start with what I think.
Okay, and I'll follow up.
And so again, I have two sides of this coin, and I live on both sides of them.
Mm-hmm.
I am a firm believer that you, in lack of better terms, dress your Sundays best.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever best that you have to wear and to deem yourself presentable,
Mm-hmm.
that's how you should dress for church.
Mm-hmm.
However, the caveat to that is, I don't even follow my own standard, I guess. Yeah, thanks. I don't even follow my own standard on that because I still go to church with jeans and a t-shirt on.
Mm-hmm.
I've preached in jeans and a t-shirt.
Help him, Lord.
I'm pretty sure I've preached behind a pulpit with shorts on at some point.
Y'all can't see me, but I just rolled my eyes.
Fired again.
Fired again.
But one of the other things is, sorry, he's shutting a door.
Close the door.
So one of the other things is, again, we talk about demographics and geographic location.
Mm-hmm.
Is when I was down south, you had the churches where the ladies wore the hats and the dresses, and the men wore suits, and they were all colorful. And my one pastor looked like a blueberry, and a banana, and an orange,
and he had the Stacey Adams shoes to match.
Oh, for sure, I guarantee it. And you never got behind a pulpit without a suit and tie.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the only time you took that jacket off is when the Holy Spirit hit and you were sweating. And that was the standard for attire.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But then when I was youth pastoring, because I was youth pastoring at the time,
mm-hmm.
I went to my youth nights in jeans and a t-shirt.
Right.
And I've always looked at it both ways, because I said there, okay, you're telling me I have to be dressed to the tilt on Sunday, but it's not important for me to be dressed to the nines when I'm pastoring teens.
Right.
So is it because it's a lesser
Yeah. I get what you're going.
lesser value of
Yep.
ministry?
I get where you're going.
And so then I start,
It's like almost like, oh, you go tend those few sheep.
yeah, and those sheep really don't matter how you're dressed. So let's look at all the other. That we only care when all the sheep are present.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always saw that as a weird standard for churches to have.
Mm-hmm.
Is, well, Wednesday night's just like a casual night, and you'll always have like the pastor will, like, he won't be dressed up like he is on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And
we only talking about the Holy Spirit this week. We ain't talking about the Father. So
yeah, we're only talking about one of the Trinity.
Yeah, we gotta kind of dial it back a little bit.
So it's uno instead of tres.
Yeah. Exactly.
So I've always found it weird in the church standards, and it's across that I believe is across the board, because that's most churches I've ever attended or even visited have those standards where Sundays you're dressed up, even Sunday night. I've seen churches dress up. Wednesday main service may be dressed up, but the teens and the youth, you don't have to dress up for that. You just,
if they got diapers on,
that's it.
That's good.
And that's just youth pastor, and then that's not even talking about the kids. So I've always saw it weird. And then to tie things in, one of the things that I have a problem with when you're dressed to the nines is the approachability of somebody that may not have what other people have. Maybe they just have t-shirt and sweatpants, and that's all they can afford, or they're a new Christian, they've never had a reason to buy a suit or buy anything super nice and they don't understand the quote-unquote church standards or biblical standards, because there are some biblical standards out there, and we will jump into some of that later on in the conversation. But we find that sometimes the atmosphere isn't conducive to allow free
It's like more like the comfort level or something like that.
Free psychological movement in a church. And kind of what I mean by that is, I was trying to sum it up into a few words, but kind of what I mean by free psychological movement is the ability for somebody to let go of feeling a certain way, feeling like I'm not significant enough for God to love me, because God only loves all these people that are dressed to the nines.
Right.
Because this is the standard, and I don't fit in the puzzle. So God really is not going to care about me, or I'm not pompous enough to attend, so I'm going to stop attending because I just don't fit in.
Right.
So that's why I mean by the free psychological movement, is because if you can't feel comfortable in your mind to serve God, it is way too easy to walk away when people that are comfortable to serve God don't. For multiple other reasons that are way easier to walk away from than pride.
So they can just be apprehensive, like, I don't fit in.
Yeah.
Let me stay out of that group. I know they're over there talking. They're real nice, but, they're all really
and
dressed
cliquey
nice.
And
yeah, but I don't, I have on just these old sweatpants I've been having for 5 years.
Yeah, and it's a weird, just everything about it. And I have found, even as pastoring, the moments in time where I guess got more comfortable and started wearing like maybe jeans and a nice button-up shirt.
Right.
I found
like a dressy casual.
Yeah, like a dress casual, or business casual, or whatever you want to call it. I found that people were more responsive
Mm-hmm.
and would come up to me more often.
So you're approachable.
Yeah, and even with teens, I found that was kind of like a middle ground standard where I
Right.
could be dressed up but not too dressy.
Mm-hmm.
To where if we did something like outside or something, I wouldn't care
Mm-hmm.
because I wouldn't be in a suit.
Mm-hmm.
But then on Sunday morning, those same teens saw me the same way. So it wasn't like I was dressing to one standard and then lessening my standard for them.
Right. Right. No, that's important. I really think that's
So,
important.
that's kind of where I sit
Mm-hmm.
in a nutshell. Now I could unpack that
Mm-hmm.
way, way deeper.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm willing to unpack that with anybody that would like to have the conversation because I don't want to be attacked. Which I think Graydon's making comments, so I'm sure he's attacking
Oh yeah.
attacking me for sure.
He said he don't like you.
Probably not.
But and like kind of the where I sit on this is, and then I'm gonna read a comment first, and the comments from Gloria. She says, "I think you dress respectfully, and God will convict you if you need to change, and that does happen." And that's a good point. What I think is, and I'm gonna give an example of how that can interplay. We have a gentleman, Victor, always dressed really nice, but I have never seen the guy peacock ever. I have never seen the guy kind of show off his watch where it hits the sun or the lighting just right, so you kind of get the
But
sparkle.
he has a
off
nice
of it.
watch.
But he has a nice watch. He has a nice chain on, but you never see him kind of position it to where everybody sees it. So for him, he kind of treats everybody just as they're all the same, and it's a quality that's unique, and not everybody has that. And what I see is I see a man that doesn't have this prideful behavior that is off-putting. Which, if I'm dressed to the nines and I have pride in me, that can be the same as if I'm dressed like a ragamuffin and has pride. It's gonna stand out. But if I'm humble, and that's why I think Victor is so approachable because of his character and the way he carries himself. So he's approachable automatically, even if he's dressed nice, because he just treats people with respect. And so what I think this situation would be less of an issue if the church made themselves more approachable. If it wasn't about, oh, that's my pew. Hey, bro, that's my pew.
Well, you know why they call them pews? Because they start to smell like you after a while.
Exactly.
But I think even with our circumstance with Victor,
Mm-hmm.
is it's also the atmosphere of the church.
Yeah.
It's not just it's just not the way the individual Victor
Mm-hmm.
in this particular example.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just the way he carries himself, but it's the entire way that the church carries itself.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And but I think that piggybacks off of it though, because a lot of times the church will fall in line. If everything's in order, the church will kind of fall in line. But to me, I mirror the fact that I'm a wholehearted believer in that you dressed appropriately going to church. Because for one, I think it's a part of reverence for God. Um, and I'll be the biggest one to tell you that I'm also a hypocrite in that area because I've come to church in sweatpants and a t-shirt, and neither one were ironed, but it was just that.
What's an iron?
I know, right? Yeah, what's an iron?
I get the wrinkle-free shirts.
And they still wrinkle.
Yeah.
But to me, I believe that that's the standard. Now, I will fully tell you that I fall short of my own standard all day long, but that's, I think, my standard. I think sometimes it can be a dumbing down or a not thinking about it highly enough to come in like that. But you know what? I had a conversation with a young lady earlier on a church page, and we had that conversation. But I said, you know what? There are many people that roll in the church, looking sparkly clean and all that, and their souls are really bad.
Make sure you link this conversation to her so she can go back and watch it.
I'll try to do that. And so it was just like, and we had commonality and agreement on the fact that, because she was saying that, it's really about how you come there and stuff. And I thought what she said to be profound, because it is about that. Now, but at the same time, she said that she would never show up like that, but she didn't want the, if someone does show up that way, then you love them the way they are, and because then how does the prostitute walk in? Then how does the pimp walk in and get saved if they can't walk in the way that,
Same
you're
way I
dressed?
walk in every Sunday.
I know, right? So my thing is, I think we do dress appropriately to my eyesight, but I have to also realize and put that on balance with that even I don't hold that standard. So I think the inference is for me to kind of try my best to be presentable to the way that I feel in my conscience is good, and then allow that to speak for itself. And then allow my kindness and the way I approach people, whether they're dressed, whatever way, to speak for itself as well. So that now we create some commonality, because you know what? I might be the guy with the color suits and shoes to match. And then someone might change my perspective on that because I see them dressed a little more business casual. And I say, you know what? I think that's a much more approachable look. So we have to be allowed to be changed based on the fact that, what is God saying about it? What is more appropriate? Is it that when I dress to the nines, does my behavior change? Do I walk around a little more peacocky and pompous? Then maybe I don't need to dress that way because it affects my soul. So I agree with you in the fact that sometimes that can be make someone unapproachable, especially a person freshly coming in. And so now they see a guy a little bit more dressed down, a little bit more casual, and they'll go talk to that guy because they figure they're not going to be judged, But it's about the atmosphere of the church, I think. But to me, I want to see it done in more of a reverent way. That's just my own personal tinge on it. But what I do is, if I see someone that does the opposite, then I never try to demonize them for doing so. What I try to do is I try to lovingly love on them just as they would lovingly love on me if I came in there looking like, a sparkling piece of glitter or something, just wearing all these fancy colors and, just to be seen. So that's kind of my take on it.
Yeah, and I think it is important because I hate using the phrase, and I mentioned this briefly earlier because I feel like it's a catch-all and people use it inappropriately. A good portion of times, but the phrase "God knows your heart."
Oh yeah, oh man, everybody say that.
Everybody says it.
Man, I was just coming out of that strip club, dog, but God know my heart, man. He know my heart. He know I only gave singles out, man. It's like, dude, you have totally missed it.
Like, there's missed it, and then there's what you did.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's even worse.
And I think it really does come down to that is, God does know your heart. I mean, so for instance, there is, we can talk about the lady that gave the 3 pence.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's all she had.
Mm-hmm.
Now everybody else was throwing.
Oh yeah, they making it rain over there.
Throwing money around like it was water, and she's just like in a group full of pompous, prideful people that were showing off their wealth. You had somebody that was humble, and came with what she had and gave, and Jesus was like, that was better than anything that anybody else did.
Right. But didn't some used to come and purposefully, if they were given a large amount, like put that into smaller denominations so it would make more noise going down the coffers to be seen?
Hey, did you see me on Sunday? Did you see me on Sunday morning? I feel like I'm being called out right now.
I'm
no.
sorry, bro.
I only give the $1 coins.
Yeah.
That's how I pay my
make
tithe.
real loud noise.
And I run to the altar with them in my pocket so they jingle.
You sound like a janitor with a bunch of keys.
Well, actually, if I did that, they'd be like, "Hey, throw your 50 cents in the coin in the offering and let's go." But no, but we see this, we see the documentation of that, where that was the most important thing, because God did know her heart
Mm-hmm.
and the stretch behind or the faith behind what she did.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I feel the same thing when we talk about attire.
Mm-hmm.
Though, as we discussed previously, like I feel like there's certain times where um the lack of lavish makes things more approachable
Mm-hmm.
and makes a more comfortable scenario. For instance, if you're gonna go and um minister to somebody that is homeless,
Right.
driving in with a Rolls Royce
Yeah, man. You just don't look
and
at that. Just
being
don't look
dressed to the tilt may
Yeah.
not be the best idea that you've ever had.
I'll tell you that is a very good point because we had a pastor locally that would drive up to the. He loved Wendy's. He would drive up to Wendy's in his Bentley with the top down, and not even him driving, a driver driving him. And I remember the people at this Wendy's did not like him because it just the way it put off and his attitude and all that. It just was off putting.
Now, and I disclaimer here, I am not against a pastor having a Rolls Royce.
No, not at all. Not saying it, but it was just kind of how he
No,
presented himself.
but I do want to throw a disclaimer in here because I know a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Pastors should never take vacations. Pastors should never be successful and have finances,
Right.
and this, that, and the other thing. And I think that is a bold-faced lie.
Yep.
Um,
They feel that way until they become the pastor.
right. And having been a pastor
Mhm.
and been on both sides of that coin, I promise you,
You didn't have where your Rolls Royce at though.
well, that never happened. I probably paid more. I paid more. I think I paid more of the church's bills than the church did. Unfortunately, that is the case for a lot of small church pastors.
True that.
So I just throw that disclaimer out there. But again, it comes down to it. It's a pride thing. Is rolling up with your Rolls Royce, even though you have one, and that you worked hard and you did everything, and God blessed your church and everything else. It might be great that you have that stuff. But I feel like there's a time and place to put the stuff aside.
Right. Absolutely.
For the sake of grace and ministry.
Yep.
And more often than not, I feel like putting that stuff aside is important.
And even for you, because I think sometimes you can be a little puffed up by just that persona.
Yeah.
And that's a way to kind of stay humble,
Yeah, but don't get me wrong, like my dream car is a Shelby GT 500 if anybody wants to buy me one.
I know, right?
67 specifically. Eleanor, if you're out there.
If you're out there, yeah. Hit me up.
Like that is my absolute dream car. Now, anybody that would see that car knows, for the most part, even if they don't know cars, that is a very expensive car.
True that.
As a pastor, if I had the ability in any shape, way, or form to own that car, I would be rolling Sunday morning, donuts in the parking lot.
Oh yeah.
Having a good time.
Oh yeah.
However, there would be moments in time where I would say,
put Eleanor up for the day, huh?
and let's maybe drive the Focus.
Yeah. and I knew a guy like that used to go to an old church house, and he was like a very high up executive in Coca-Cola. And I remember I went and I used to detail cars and stuff. I go to detail this guy's car, and he had a really nice Mercedes parked next to a really nice Cadillac, and those were his daily drivers. And this guy would fly 3, 4, 5 times a week. I mean, the guy was just one of those guys, kind of suit and a briefcase kind of guy, ex-military. But I remember this guy being such a humble guy. I went over there to go detail his cars, and I knew he was a humble guy before that, but this even spoke to another level. He went out to go, he had a conversation with me just about decorum in business, and he taught me some things, and he said, you know what, I never played golf before this, but he said, you know what, I learned that a lot of business deals are made off of rounds of golf. So what I do, he said, I could have sat home and cried about it. He said, you know what I did? I learned how to play golf. And he said, so I got offered this executive position over around the golf. And he said, oh, so like, man, that was so cool. Okay, cool. So then I said, okay, let me go ahead and get started. I'll go ahead and get started. This guy walks across the street. This home is about the size of, some small schools. Walks across the street to his neighbor's house, takes their old beat up Corolla that had rust all over it, threw his golf clubs in the trunk of it with his nice $300 golf shirt and slacks, got in that car and rolled off. And he rolled off seemingly better off in that beat up old raggedy car than in his Mercedes or his Cadillac. And I was absolutely taken aback by that, because I said, you know what? This is not the norm. That's a whole nother level right there. And it wasn't that he just did it for any kind of thing. He just said, you know what, man, I'm going to play a couple rounds of golf. I'll be back. And it was just so normal. And to me, nothing of what he did either way, either the Cadillac or Mercedes or the beat up Corolla, was something to be, scoffed at. It's like Jesus' appearance, right? He wasn't nothing to be jumping up and down about. He wasn't Fabio. And so I think that in a way that made even Jesus more approachable, because the guys weren't looking at him like, oh man, look at him with all that nice hair. I hate him. They more hated his holiness than anything. They hated his righteousness. They hated the fact that he was making the appropriate moves. That's why they hated him. They didn't hate him because he was some extremely attractive guy, or that he was swirling water and making wine all day, though he did. So it goes to show a lot for, like you said earlier, sometimes you have to dial that back and be able to move in that lane just as good as you move in the lane that you were in before. So the GT500, enjoy it, love it, do all the donuts you want to do, and then go back to the Corolla and enjoy that as well. Enjoy the good gas mileage.
Yeah. But then we look at other scriptures.
Uh-oh.
Where, in Leviticus 16, I encourage you guys to go on and read it. It's a very interesting read, especially with today's society and how pastors and youth pastors and councilmen and everybody, how we differ from church to church. For instance, like the Catholic Church and the Lutheran Church and the Pentecostal churches and Baptist churches. We all have different, I don't want to say standards, but standards.
For lack of better words, it kind of is.
Like, you always go to a Lutheran or a Catholic church and the priest will have a robe and a certain way that they come out, and it is very consistent. As it is in Leviticus 16. So we can look at it as the Day of Atonement, and Moses is here speaking with the Lord, and he says, tell Aaron, your brother, not to come at any time into the holy place inside the veil before the mercy seat that is on the ark, so that he may not die. Ooh. Like, hey, tell your brother, he might not want to come here, because if he does, he's gonna die. Wow. For I will appear in the cloud over the mercy seat, but in this way Aaron shall come into the holy place with a bull from the herd for a sin offering and a ram for burnt offering. He shall put on the holy linen coat. So we get into the attire. He shall put on the holy linen coat and shall have the linen undergarment on his body. And he shall tie the linen sash around his waist and wear the linen turban. These are the holy garments. He shall bathe his body in water and then put them on.
You mean I got to take a bath before I go to church?
I know, right?
A whole bath?
I know.
Not a bath. A bath.
A bath.
I got to take a bath.
And he shall take from the congregation of his people, of the people of Israel, 2 male goats for a sin offering and 1 ram for a burnt offering. Aaron shall offer the bull as a sin offering for himself, and shall make atonement for himself and for his house. So basically, he's having to make amends for the sin that is in his life before he even goes in to the temple.
Now, what if we had to do that every time before we walked into a church?
Then he shall take the 2 goats and set them before the Lord at the entrance of the tent and of meeting. Aaron shall cast lots over the 2 goats, one lot for the Lord and the other lot for Azazel. And Aaron shall present the goat on the left on which the lot fell for the Lord and use it as a sin offering. But the goat on the lot fell for Azazel shall be presented alive before the Lord to make atonement over it. We're gonna skip over a little bit, and we're gonna go to, as soon as I find it, still talking about the burnt offerings and how it, and I will say this about Leviticus 16 when it talks about this, it is very specific.
Oh yeah,
in the handling of offerings. And burnt offerings. And here in church, we're like, are you saying I got to give 10% or like 9.9? Because, or is it
about that at all?
Is it 10% of my gross or 10% of my net?
Or is it the 10% that I get out of my neighbor's net?
Or is it the 10% after I pay all my bills?
That's a much smaller 10%.
All right, so then I'm going to skip down to verse 23. It says, then Aaron shall come into the tent of meeting and shall take, so he's went in to the tent, and now he's,
is this when he's exiting, going back to the people?
I believe so. I'm just going to read it. Aaron shall come into the tent of meeting and shall take off the linen garments that he put on when he went into the holy place. So yes,
it's coming out.
And shall leave them there. And then he's going to bathe again. He's going to bath.
A bath again.
In the water in a holy place, and put on his garments and come out and offer his burnt offering and the burnt offering of the people and make atonement for himself and for the people. So now he's in a different meeting place within the temple. And he lets the goat go to Azazel shall wash his clothes and bathe his body in water. And afterward, he may come into the camp. And then the bull for the sin offering and the goat for the sin offering, whose blood was brought in to make atonement in the holy place, shall be carried outside of the camp. Their skin and their flesh and their dung shall be burned up with fire. And he who burns them shall wash his clothes and bathe his body in water, another bath.
Wow.
And afterwards, he may come into the camp. So it's like everybody in the church got to be taking a bath.
It's like when you pull up to the church and usher parks your car and there's a pond. We're going to have ceremonial dippings because all y'all coming in here dirty from outside.
See, and you were against my whole before sin Adam costume thing. But it says that they got to take off their clothes and then get a bath.
Yeah.
Which means...
So we got to have a locked door in front and back. So you go in the door.
Oh.
You get your bath.
Okay.
And you could do your bath with your wife. And then you go into church.
And it shall be a statute to you forever in the 7th month, on the 10th day of the month, you shall afflict yourselves and should do no work. Amen to that.
You just talking to be lazy.
Either the native or the stranger who sojourns among you. For on this day shall atonement be made for you to cleanse you. You shall be clean before the Lord from all your sins. It is a Sabbath of solemn rest to you, and you shall afflict yourselves it is a statute forever.
Wow.
We go on and on.
Bed Bath and Beyond, man, they making a ton of money.
But the whole point of this is the reason I read what I read was I wanted to make the point that in Scripture it set a standard for the priest to go in to the holy place. You can look throughout Scripture. There are other scriptures where it talks about that they have their garments have to be made by somebody who has experience. That is
they were anointed
like
basically to
like
do that.
a master. And that they had to be made a certain way with certain colors and certain, and there was certain things about every piece of attire that the priest had to have worn in order to go into the holy place. Now we talk about that today and put that in today's standard, and it's very hard for our small minds to wrap around the idea of this attire battle. Because yes, when Jesus came, he abolished the law. He became the liaison, in a sense, that walked in the holy place. He is the high priest. He's making that connection. Where we're just standing on the outside of the camp being like, hey, come on. But we still, in my opinion, my humble opinion, we should still have a sense of standard, even if it be for ourselves.
Right.
That we talked about it earlier. It was funny. I had guys that I hung around with when I was a teenager that played music, and I remember one time we went to the church, and one of the gentlemen didn't believe in God, like as in like one God, the creator of all. He was very spiritual, but not religious, if that makes sense.
Like the wolf spirit.
Yes. And I remember he swore one time in the church, and he stopped, and he's like, and mind you, at the time I wasn't the best character. I definitely wasn't the best Christian. I had things that I needed to work on. I still have a lot of those similar things to still work on.
Yeah.
But I remember he stopped, and he said, hey, man, I'm sorry. And I just looked at him like, what the heck are you sorry for?
Did you get off beat?
I must have. And he's like, man, I didn't mean it. Like, I should respect for this place, because you respect this place. You have a set of, what's the word that we used earlier?
Standards.
No, not standards.
Reverence.
You have a reverence for this place, and because you have a reverence for this place, though he didn't agree with it, he felt that he should still hold that same sense of reverence for it, simply because I held that reverence.
Like if you go into someone's house and they don't wear shoes in their house,
you don't
take
wear
yours off.
Yeah. And it spoke a lot for even his character, and I really wish he was in a different place than he is now.
Yeah.
But I know Christians that don't act like that.
Oh, yeah.
I know Christians that just don't care. They don't care what they wear. They don't care how they act. They don't care how their kids act. They don't care really much about anything.
So why don't you get off of me and start talking about you? Get off my back. That's all I'm saying.
And I guess that's kind of what I want to leave with tonight is, one, what are your thoughts out there? What in the Dataverse I'm not going to call it the metaverse because I don't agree with it.
I know, right?
The dataverse. What are your thoughts? You know what? I should key that word.
The dataverse.
The dataverse.
Yeah.
We should make that a thing.
Yeah.
I'll
be the guy in the back, be like, yeah.
Yeah. But what are your thoughts out there in the dataverse? What are your opinions? Your biblical facts? I don't know why I said it like that, but you know, what scriptures do you use to support your argument? And I know that they're out there. I know that everybody's going to be different. So please if you are not, be respectful, be courteous of everybody's opinions. I'm not saying that somebody out there might be right and be 100% correct. And you may step on other people's feet. I'm not saying that you shouldn't say it because I am full-heartedly willing to step on people's feet for what I know is
right,
100% right and accurate.
Absolutely.
And
but it's lovingly. You do it in love.
But do it in love. And for those of you that may not agree with something, I'm sorry, but be respectful. Otherwise, I will shut it down.
What? Yeah.
Oh. Why's that?
That's my cue. Yeah. Yeah, but that's amazing, though. I mean, because I think it's people having these conversations come to consensus. So sometimes I think we'll have these things we want to say, but everybody's afraid to be offended or be offensive or even to just dialogue about these things. And these are the things that the church is dealing with. And so that's why we bring them to the table. And that's why we're, in essence, Real Talk, because we want to have these conversations. We want you to have these conversations, and we want to have them to where none of us is attacking the other person, but we're all trying to find commonality and understanding and wisdom.
I got a knife under the table.
Oh,
no. But, and I will say this, like the one thing that's important about having these conversations is we want everyone out there to know we don't have all the answers.
Absolutely.
I am not going to sit behind this mic for a moment and act like I am perfect, that I didn't mess up yesterday, today, and guarantee tomorrow. I already have plans to mess up tomorrow. I'm
telling.
So please understand our heart. In anything that we talk behind this mic, it is coming from a pure heart of chaos. I mean, in a sense, I mean, I don't know. I really don't quite understand how else to put it, as we have hearts of chaos in a sense of, though we know what to do is right, we are Paul, and we do the exact opposite.
But it's also out of our heart and love for the church.
Yes. And we want people to be able to have a discussion. We want people to be able to have lovingly teaching moments.
Absolutely.
And that is one of the most important things that we want to continue to focus on.
I agree.
Is having moments like this where we can hopefully have some conversation within all of our different social media. And if you didn't know, that includes Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. Maybe more in the future, but right now that's it. But have these conversations with us. We love talking to you guys. We love hearing from you guys. It's great. Even if you just popped in to say hi.
Yep.
And we appreciate y'all. So we love you. We care about you. And as always, until next time.
Deuces.